Welcome to Mind, Body and Spirit.
Zafar, it's been a long time, so it's good to see you again.
Brand new series where we'll be exploring a variety of issues relating to our health.
So there's a lot of different diets out there, and there's a lot of different...
A couple of simple and effective exercises that we can use on a daily basis. Welcome to another episode of Mind, Body and Spirit. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about tobacco. Tobacco is a plant that's indigenous to South America, but is now grown all over the world. The leaves of this plant are highly addictive if they're consumed in any way, and they can be consumed by smoking through cigars, pipes, hookah, or they can even be inhaled through something called snuff. The use of tobacco in all its guises is highly addictive. It is no doubt the #1 public health threat. In the last year, over 8 million people died as a result of tobacco. Okay, so now let's go over to our expert to discuss the dangers of tobacco. Welcome to the next section in Mind, Body and Spirit. With myself, I've got my good friend, Dr. Ismail. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So today we're talking about tobacco. If you can give us a rough overview of tobacco and its history and where it originates from.
Yeah, so tobacco is a name given to a group of plants, and it's also the name given to the products which are created from the dried, cured leaves of those plants. It's consumed in a wide variety of ways, whether it be smoked as cigarettes or shisha, or whether it be chewed, or in some cultures, it's also taken via the sublabial route, which is under the lip, and just absorbed. Now, tobacco is indigenous to the Americas, North and South America, and archaeological evidence actually shows that its cultivation and use dates back to the 1st century BC, when the Mayans used to use it in their religious and spiritual ceremonies. Native American tribes have also been known to use tobacco very widely, and when the Europeans arrived on the American shores, they then exported this around the world.
So when was tobacco use popularized in the way we see it today?
So it was popularized actually through false advertising and also false facts. Now our grandparents, our great-grandparents, they would have been told about the positive benefits of smoking cigarettes, positive health benefits. And also it was glamorized in the media, whether that be with posters or on TV or in the movies. It's always been glamorized. However, now we really know that cigarettes or tobacco really isn't good for our health, and it's actually a major health crisis.
Right, okay. And you mentioned some of the forms of taking tobacco. A lot of the youth nowadays are kind of using shisha. They're thinking it's not tobacco based and it's quite safe, it's a social activity. What's the kind of truth or the facts behind shisha use?
So shisha can contain tobacco, and the amount of smoke inhaled during a shisha session is significantly more than a single cigarette. Wow. And so for people that are doing shisha, whether just every now and then or a regular basis, are having a lot of negative effects on their bodies. I mean, they're consuming basically a large amount of cigarettes in a short space of time.
Yeah, I've heard some facts being thrown around, like they're having 70 or 80 cigarettes in one sit-down session. It's insane, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know the exact number, but it's very large.
Right, okay. And so what are some of the negative effects of tobacco use?
So tobacco use has negative effects not just on the user, but also on the people around them. Now, we know that tobacco use has, smoking cigarettes in general, has negative effects on the lungs. It can cause lung diseases such as COPD, which is known as chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which is a progressive disease. So once you start getting it, it's not reversed. It gets worse and worse. It also causes one of the major causes of lung cancer and a variety of other cancers, whether that be throat cancer or bladder cancer. It also has effects on our cardiovascular system and can cause risks for heart attacks. It can also increase your risk of strokes. And so it has a wide-ranging effect on the body. I think the WHO has stated that actually there's 8 million deaths as a result of tobacco use a year, of which 1.2 million are deaths in passive smokers, people that weren't actually smoking, not directly affected by the cigarettes, but people around smokers.
So if they're in that social circle, their friends are smoking, or if someone's father's smoking or their mother's smoking, and they're in that household, they will still have the negative effects as well then?
They will still have negative effects. I mean, it's known that children who are around smokers have a higher risk of asthma. And so, right from a young age, if you're a father or a mother that's smoking around that child, you really are putting them at risk of these health conditions.
Yeah, I know some European countries have started in this thing where if you're indoors, for example, it's illegal to smoke now. You can only smoke outdoors. But I know in some countries that's still the norm. So in those kind of countries, they will be having the negative effects of passive smoking, I guess. Then.
Of course. I mean, we wouldn't say recently, but in my lifetime when they introduced that ban, I very much remember being in school and there being a smoking and a non-smoking staff room for our teachers. And that practice, obviously, it's not right.
No, exactly. And so if someone was addicted to cigarettes or tobacco and they want to find a way of weaning themselves off or coming off that addiction, what kind of recommendations can you give to that person?
So in the UK, we have the NHS, and the NHS has a stop smoking service. That stop smoking service provides not just counselling, but it provides therapies that may aid you to stop smoking, such as nicotine patches, different types of nicotine replacement. They also offer vaping. However, although vaping removes some of the harmful factors from the cigarette smoking itself, such as tar and some of the carcinogens, it still has some negative consequences.
So you mentioned carcinogens, like when you're smoking cigarette and the tobacco effect. What are carcinogens and how can that negatively impact someone?
So carcinogens are cancer-causing chemicals.
Right.
Cigarettes are known to contain more than 60 cancer-causing chemicals. Wow. Carcinogens can be found in a wide variety of products, but as I said, more than 60 in cigarettes, meaning that there is such increased risk of developing cancers from smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, and we've seen recently, you've got this thing where people are vaping now, and you touched on it earlier as well. I know it's quite a new area and it's not been explored much, but do you have any kind of insight that you can give around vaping? Is it safe? Is it a good thing to do? Or
so my knowledge around that, I would say that there have been some reports of negative consequences of vaping. However, a lot of those come from people modifying their vape, or also using third-party chemicals or other chemicals which may contain things like THC. However,
so what's THC?
THC is the active component of cannabis.
Oh, okay.
Right. So some people modify their vape. However, vaping in general is considered safer than cigarettes, and it's considered healthier than cigarettes, and provides people with that same sensation of smoking, and also gives them nicotine, which is the actual substance which they're addicted to. It's actually that substance which activates reward centers in our brain, and so each time the person smokes a cigarette, that they have a pleasing sensation in their body, which is temporary. As soon as that wears off, they have an urge to go for a second or a third cigarette, and that's the addiction. The moment they stop, they will have both physical and psychological effects, which won't be very pleasing, and which then is known as the withdrawal effect.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ismail. I learned a huge amount about tobacco today, and I'm sure our viewers did as well. Next, we're going to our exercise segment. Hey guys, in today's exercise segment, I've got a good friend of mine, Gomer here. He's going to talk us through something called calisthenics. Now, calisthenics is quite a movement that's building at the moment. So, especially with the lockdown we've had recently, people haven't had access to gyms. So they've been looking for new ways of training using just their body weights and the things that are around them. So, Gomer, welcome to the show, and let's talk about calisthenics.
Yeah, calisthenics is basically the art of trying to control your body weight. The theory of the ethos of calisthenics is that if you can't lift your own body weight, why do you use external weights to actually enhance your physique when you can do it by just using your body weight? So it's a very fine line between calisthenics and gymnastics actually. Gymnastics also uses various movements in calisthenics, but they obviously have more disciplines, and it's almost a dance, and that's where we differ in calisthenics. We don't go towards that side, but this is all about training your body in such a way that you have full control over it, whether it's in the push position, whether it's in the pull position, whether you're doing static holds, or whether you're doing movements, you should be able to control it. That's the whole point of it.
So, come on, how did you get into this calisthenics?
Yeah, I think the main thing is about this for me personally, I love, is that it's very accessible. Even though you're seeing a lot of these props, you don't actually need all of this stuff. All you need is a simple maybe pull-up bar, and you need a nice flat surface. You can do pretty much everything, anything anyone can do in calisthenics. It's very easy to do. People with like busy lifestyles who might not find the time or maybe even the resources to go to a gym can easily do these things at home, and I think that's really, really good. Other than that, it really strengthens parts of your body which conventional training would not do otherwise. A lot of people that I speak to that do calisthenics who are now actually at an older age, who used to previously do weightlifting, have talked about the benefits that they now receive of having not that much strain on their shoulders, their joints, and other places such as the lower back. So this is where calisthenics really allows people who might be suffering from those kinds of pains to alleviate that, and they can carry on with their exercises without risk.
And how long have you been doing calisthenics for?
I mean, calisthenics is a very broad topic. If we're talking about the basics, push-ups and pull-ups, I've been doing it for maybe a couple of years. Advanced calisthenics, when we come into more difficult movements, it's been about 5 months, I would say. But like I said, the list is endless. There's a lot of things you can learn. There's so many progressions that you can make, and you can be in calisthenics for many, many years and still not have mastered everything. So there's a lot to do.
And I'm seeing all these strange contraptions, look like torture devices here. Yes. Do you want to talk me through what they are and how we use them?
Right here we have the biggest thing. This is actually a pull-up bar. It's a portable pull-up bar, hence we are outside right now. You can take this anywhere. You can take it apart, you can put it in your living room, you can come out into a park and do it. And the objective of a pull-up bar is to strengthen mainly your back muscles and your bicep muscles, and also your lower back as well. We'll come into the movements in a minute. This is obviously a slightly more expensive version. We have a cheaper version which you can use at home as well. This one normally costs about £15 only, and you can stick this on any door frame, and it doesn't even have to be bolted on, so it wouldn't really damage as much. We have this piece of equipment here, which is actually a weighted vest. Now, you don't obviously have to use this, but once you get to a point in calisthenics where you've advanced to a stage where the body movements are too easy, you can actually make them more difficult by adding weight, or you can not add weight and just make the movement itself more difficult. I think a lot of people who don't want to do calisthenics because they think that you can't achieve the same results with calisthenics that you could with weight training. I think that's a misconception. I think that the calisthenics movements are very difficult. For example, you could go into a gym and you could bench 100, 120 kilograms, but you cannot do a 60 kilogram push-up. And that's the difference. And that's why calisthenics movements are actually a lot harder than conventional training. And that's why they require all the more effort.
And why are they more difficult? What's the difference?
There's the fact of isolation. When you go into a bench, you're pushing up and gravity is pulling straight down on you, and you're basically moving in a very strict manner, and your body is used to it. With calisthenics, because it's a free movement, at any given time your body's having to maintain posture. You're trying to keep your body not from moving to the right, not from moving to the left.
So you've got stabilizers kicking in as well.
You're trying to push yourself off the ground or into the sky, which is actually very difficult because of the laws of physics, which is not the same when it comes to conventional training, because you're not just pushing up or down, you're controlling movements from many, many different angles, and that's why it allows your body to strengthen in places where normally conventional training might not allow it.
So most beginners probably won't be able to do something like a pull-up either, but so what would you recommend from someone from a most basic level, and maybe then some intermediate, advanced?
Let's take a look at some of the movements, because like I said, everybody starts somewhere, and you can do all of these things at home, and I think with calisthenics you can split this up into two things. Just like you can with conventional training, there's push exercises, which will work dominantly your chest, your shoulders, your triceps, and your abdominals. Then you have the pull exercises, which will work your biceps, your back, and your lower back as well, and also they will do your abs too. So let's look at some of the push exercises. I think
before we do though, it almost seems like what about lower body? Because we're talking about upper body.
This is a pretty jokes thing, because a lot of people say that calisthenics does not cater for legs. I would say that to an extent it is true that if you want to extremely increase your leg power, calisthenics might not be able to do it for you. But if you're talking about general exercise, talking about general health, and you want to strengthen, for example, just your glutes and your quads to a normal level, then you can do it. We can look at that as well. We've got pistol squats and other things like that too. So let's start with the pull exercises then. We've got this pull-up bar right here.
All right, so talk us through it then.
So people who at the moment can't do chin-ups or pull-ups, it's not a problem, because you can actually just grab a bar such as this. You can obviously we can stabilize this, and you literally just move backwards and forwards. And this is called a rowing movement. You can actually replicate this in gyms as well. They have rowing machines, but this is one easy way to strengthen your back and your forearm so that you can actually eventually then progress onto what we call a pull-up.
that's all good and well, but maybe a lot of people don't have these at home. So what can they do to modify this?
So if you don't have this, and when I didn't have this, at home I used to go to the threshold of a door and just grab it from the corners, and then you can obviously replicate exactly the same movement with control on a door. And then everybody, I'm assuming, has a door frame at home, so it's very easy to do. And if it gets too easy, you can use, like I said, weighted equipment to make that movement even harder until you can actually do the next progression, which is the chin-ups and the pull-ups.
And sorry, it's coming back to that again, so I'm going to keep on pulling you back quite a lot. How do you, because I noticed when you came up, it was quite a strict
In
form.
calisthenics, even though we say that a certain movement trains your back, or if it trains your chest, even when we come to push-ups, you're actually supposed to engage every single muscle in your body that's possible. And that's because it's all about controlling your body at the end of the day. With calisthenics and gymnastics, I say the difference is this. Gymnastics, you're able to do the movement, but you don't necessarily have to control how you get to that movement. With calisthenics, you have to be able to control it from the very beginning to the very end with full engagement of all your muscles. So that's why it's actually important that rather than me bending my back and coming down and making the movement easier, I'm actually engaging my core as well, because I'm having to straighten it out.
All of your muscles
And
are being used
right now,
across.
even though it's predominantly on my back, I can actually feel it all the way down to my legs. And that's a very, very beneficial thing.
Sorry.
That's
Carry on.
fine.
Wait.
So once you've learnt the rows, then you can progress on to the next two movements. We have the chin up where you're inverting your hands towards your face, and that would simply be grabbing the bar from here, coming all the way down. In calisthenics, you have to lock out. You don't start from the bent arm, you start from the straight arm, and this is because this is the best way to train. You come all the way up above the bar, hold it for a second if you want to, that's actually ideal, and then come all the way down again, all the way down to the bottom. And this is where we call a clean chin up. You can do it without locking your arms out, but it would not have the same results. It is definitely easier. We then have the pull up, which is the same thing, but your palms are facing away. And you would have a grip which is wider than your shoulders. So that would then start like this. And notice, even though the pull-up bar is not high enough, your feet should actually be in front of your waist, like so. And what you want to do is not bend your legs. You don't want to do this movement, because what that does is it lets the engagement of your core go. You want to keep your core engaged, so your feet are actually going to stay ahead of you. Another really important...
You see a lot of people, that's a common mistake then, right? So when people doing chin-ups, they've always got their knees bent, or some CrossFitters as well, when they do chin-ups.
Let's not go into CrossFit, but
jump their knees up, right?
The thing is, like we said, it's all about form and calisthenics and control. You can easily do a pull-up by having your feet behind your back, but it will actually not be engaging the muscles that you want it to engage.
Feet slightly ahead of you.
Yes,
Okay.
and if you want to make it even more advanced, I would just give them a bit more space. What you would actually want to do is bring your knees up into an L-sit, and then you can do a pull-up like so. And that not only engages your abs even more, but also is now engaging your lower back as well.
And also, what's the difference in grip? Because I noticed you started
That's absolutely right.
And then you went wide.
This is really important. There's actually, so if we do chin-ups, although they are doing your back, they are actually focusing more on your brachialis here, and also on your chest as well, which they wouldn't be doing if you had the pull-up exercise. However, this is why the pull-up is harder, because the pull-up doesn't engage your chest as much as it would with the chin-up, and you're not able to use that strength with the pull-up, and that's why it's a little bit harder. One tip that I found very useful when we're doing pull-ups is this, that normally people grip the bar like this with their thumb underneath, and that actually engages one extra muscle in your forearm just for the grip's sake. But if you keep your thumb above the bar, and this is what is practiced commonly in the military, that actually allows that extra muscle to be used for the actual pull movement, and you can probably push out a couple of more pull-ups than you would have been able to do otherwise. So that's probably the normal pull-up. Lastly, if you want to be a bit more advanced, and you're thinking that maybe even the pull-up's getting a bit easy, again, you can use weighted equipment. If you don't want to do that, then what you can do is what we call the triangular pull-up, where you're starting in obviously a standing locked out position, but rather than pulling up, you're going to pull to the left and the right respectively. So like this, with one arm. And you're going to pull like this. So that's the triangle, and then you come up, and then you can also do the same thing, but if the bar allows me to.
Do you want me to hold it? Oh.
Yeah, so if that's basically what we call the typewriter pull-up. Without coming down, you're going to stay here. And this basically, even though it's a pull-up, is also now training all of your obliques here, which is something which is great, and also your tricep as well. So these are probably some of the progressions that people who are starting off with could learn on this pull-up machine.
Thank you so much, Gomer. It's great to learn about calisthenics and all the great movements you got. I probably won't be doing the advanced moves that you're doing, but one day maybe. But now let's cut over to the chef who's going to be preparing a nice tasty dish for us.
Welcome to our cooking segment. And today I'm gonna make, the very simple thing, like when you don't have time for a complicated thing. So today I will make the spinach soup with one spinach ball stuffed with a fried chicken. Fried chicken can be left over when you have from day before or something. So it's a very easy recipe and very delicate. So I hope you're gonna enjoy it. So we start with one garlic bread. I'm gonna serve with a garlic bread filled with cottage cheese. So all the time, my focus is to give you some advice with a healthy food, like a spinach, chicken, garlic bread, cottage cheese. Everything is healthy things. So I always try to give you not very fatty things, and it's something like easy to digest. And this soup is very easy for you when you have no time for cooking and you have leftover, maybe Saturday or Sunday evening, or some snacks, like if you get some visitor or something. But anyway, we take this any kind of bread. I'm taking this one. So I'm just gonna make this hole inside like this. And that reason is that why I'm doing this, because I'm gonna fill up with cottage cheese inside, and it will be top of it. It will be like the lock on the top. So which I have done already, ready one to just save some time. It's garlic, oil or butter or whatever you like, and then you salt and pepper and fine chopped garlic. You put it in there and you fry the bread inside. So it's give you very delicious, very good flavor on it. So all right. So like this, and then you put this bread upside down. You press like this, yes sir. I made one like this. With this thing, you can get all the flavor of garlic, you get the flavor of salt, you get the flavor of pepper, and also there's the crispiness and the softness of the bread. So that's why I do like this. And meanwhile, what I'm going to do now, we are ready for the soup. I take about 3/4 liter of the milk, and there is two ways to do it. One from the beginning, or one from the easy way. What I try to tell you always, you can try to make it more convenient to you. So what I've done, I just warm up this the milk. You can use cream, milk, water, whatever you prefer. But I'm using just a milk. And I have the spinach Knorr, or whatever the brand you like. Dry spinach soup, spinach sauce, whatever. If you don't have this availability, so you take just a fresh spinach in this milk, and you blend it. It will be same result will be the same. So I'm going to use about 3/4 liter of the milk, 750 ml, and I start with a 2 spoon of this spinach sauce, soup, or whatever is availability. Mix this, and meanwhile, while the soup is cooking, so I will teach you something different now. Is you take spinach leaf like this, you make almost one bed. First you have to blanched, you have to cook that spinach about for one minute or something like this in a very hot water, and then you take it out and you put it in a very cold water to just keep the color of this spinach. Now I have fried this chicken by leftover whatever you have. I have fried this one with salt and pepper, with chili powder if you like, some garlic. So that is actually is meant to be when you have any function at home or children have leftover. So I use it like this. So it makes something nice dish out of your leftover. So you do like this. We have to create the ball. Cover up this one like this, and then you twist like this. So I will show you later. Now you have got one spinach ball stuffed with chicken, which you can fry exactly the way you want. It shouldn't be very big bite only. It should be fine, not very fine, but roughly cut like this. because you're going to pack into this one. This one you can do it day before, whenever you have time. So when you want to use it, so you can just warm it up in the microwave for half minute, for 1 minute, depending on your microwave. And when the soup is ready, so it's very healthy and very easy and very beautiful soup. I always say, don't be scared to make a food. When it's too little, you add more. If it is too much, you add some more milk or more cream or whatever to balance the flavor, you know. So it's not, don't be afraid. Just enjoy your time in a kitchen. A little bit salt. And the pepper according to your taste. To get extra flavor, I put this chicken stock, you know, the powder. Those are the recipes. Actually, we're not allowed to do it something like this in a kitchen, but I'm doing, because of you guys, not to make so complicated food, try to make as easy as possible. Now, there are two ways to serve this, the garlic bread. One like this, as I said. Other thing is you make it, and then you put it in an oven for, let's say, for 10 minutes, 15 minutes or something like this. Because you see, soup is not only enough, so you have to get something to chew. So that's why I cook. Now after this, done this garlic bread, so I can put either in an oven for 5-10 minutes or until it gets crispy or it gets golden. So this is up to you. This free choice, whatever you like. So now I have this blanched spinach. I'm going to change this one to get more color in the soup. So you have to reduce cook if you have 750 ml of milk or cream or whatever you have. So if the milk, then you have to cook that about more than half liter, 500 ml, because then you get a really flavor of all whatever the goodies are inside. So get this smooth, foamy, silky look and flavor. I use always blender, but you can use mixer, whatever you like, whatever you have. Is up to you, you know. There we go. Easier than this, you will never get anything. As I said, especially when you don't want to make one complicated things for your family, so you can just make this soup. You know, it's up to you what you want to do with the bread, you know. It's you put some herb or whatever you like, it's up to you. Here is the bread. As I said, you can put it in the oven for 5 or 10 minutes until the way you like it. So it's not complicated, it's not very hard. Soup is always the best when you feel the foam inside on the top. Quantity you can decide, you see. Watch up, it can be very hot. But my hand is used to this thing. So you see now, here we go. Spinach ball with stuffed with a fried chicken and garlic bread with cottage cheese. Healthy, easy. You can make whatever you want, whenever you want, even with the leftover, whatever. Thank you very much for watching the food segment, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you will make it better than I did, and I hope I see you again. Thank you very much.
Well, that's it for another episode of Mind, Body and Spirit. I hope you learned a few things about the dangers of tobacco. I look forward to seeing you on the next show when we're discussing another important topic.